Hello, I'm Yoshi, and these are my co-hosts Cadence and Emmy, and you are listening to Inconsequential Questions. How are you guys doing today?
I'm ready for school to be over.
I'm doing all right. It's kind of hot in my room, but I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I'm also ready for school to be over. Anyways, our question today is, what if you restarted from birth, but you had all of your memories? And this may be a question that you've pondered before, but we wanted to talk about it here and see what we would do. What would we change in the world? Or would we change anything?
Or like, would we just change something like in our own life, or just in other people's lives?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Would we try and, you know, get rich or something like that? You could actually, this is basically like knowing the future because, well, yeah, you know some of the future. So you could just like predict, yeah, you can make bets and whatnot.
I suppose something that I would do is I might change like some things that I did as a child that I'm not particularly proud of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
Oh, I also just realized, what does this mean that our brain is as developed as it is right now, but we're stuck in a child's body?
I feel like I would assume so, yes.
Mhm.
Just because if we have all of our memories and everything, I mean, our brain is developed enough for to retain that. And so obviously we're not going into the future or anything to where our brains would be more developed. So I feel like it would stay the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, your brain, in a way, whenever you're making new memories, your brain is expanding some, or when it's like developing and whatnot. So if you take it all the way back down and shrink it, then you basically lose some of those memories. But we're going to say it's fully developed somehow. The science behind this doesn't really work, but
Yeah, no, not at all.
there's a reason this doesn't happen.
Yes.
So I had a question. Is this like a one-time thing, or is it like every time like you reach a certain age or whatever, you reset until it's like kind of like a game over thing where you have some kind of goal to stop something from happening or whatever,
Mhm.
and then like I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It could also like they did an episode of Rick and Morty about this where Morty had like a pause button and where he could save his place in time. If he did something bad, he could rewind to where he last saved and nothing that he did ever happened.
It also kind of reminds me of I don't know if you've seen it. It's like this anime and it's called Erased. And it reminds me a lot of that because this guy, he gets a chance to kind of go back in time to when he was a kid to stop like these girls from getting killed, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was thinking when I asked this that it would be a one-time thing, not,
Okay.
you know, resetting over and over. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're resetting over and over, then there's some sort of objective in theory, or else you're just kind of stuck in time forever.
Yeah.
But if this just happened once, then yeah, you could do some pretty crazy things.
Mhm.
You could skip school.
You totally could.
Yeah.
Or if you didn't pay attention, you could pay attention.
Yeah, I think
That's true.
yeah.
Actually, I don't think you'd go to normal school. I think you'd just be considered like a genius or whatever. Maybe that's how geniuses exist. They have memories from their previous life.
Or like, what if you're supposed to hide the fact that you can remember everything? Like keep it a
Honestly,
secret.
you
How
probably
dumb.
would.
Yeah.
You'd probably need to, because
Mhm.
maybe this is just Hollywood stuff, but uh, if you knew everything, then like the government would be like, "Hey, this guy's special. Something weird's going on here. We gotta test on him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
run
think that might
experiments."
Yeah.
be a little bit of movie influence, but something like that.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like someone would like, you know, see that. Like if you made it known that you had your memories, or basically that you knew the future, I feel like someone would try and
Mhm.
exploit you at least, if
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
kidnap you and try and use
Yeah.
it.
Or like if you could go back in time right now and like you knew everything for like the life that you lived now, would your goal be to like try and keep everything mostly the same so that but like change little things here and there so that it doesn't get too different? That way you still know what happens.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, I think I would try to do that. Yeah, try and keep things mostly the same, but change some things because some things need changed.
Yeah. Yeah, like nobody's perfect. Like obviously like everybody's like done things that they wish they could reverse, and so if you had this chance, I would assume you would.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also, there's kind of the question of like, maybe you had multiple significant others, and like one or some of them were not good relationships. So would you just like skip those people and go straight to the one that was a good relationship, or would you still go through it?
Yeah, there are a couple exes of mine that I do have regrets about dating and that I definitely wouldn't have. But there's others that I think were like a good learning experience. But at the same time, if I have all these memories and stuff already, my brain's developed the way it is, I feel like I wouldn't need those learning experiences again. And I wouldn't feel that same love or whatever that I felt at the moment and that time again, because I know what
That's true.
happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You wouldn't be sort of blinded by love or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would you ever like use your previous experience to continue with a relationship in the past, like pick it up again, but with everything that you learned, you'll know like what to spot and like how to stop it, like prevent issues that you guys had.
Yeah. Personally, a lot of the issues that I had with my exes, they weren't like things that could really be fixed, not like
Hmm.
it wasn't like communication issues or something. It was just like they were just really toxic or just like a bad person in general. So I feel like with that, it couldn't really be fixed. But if it was something like communication or just something to do with being inexperienced with relationships, I feel like yes, that definitely would be the case, and I would try it again. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and like relationships, it's two-way street, so you can't change really what they're doing, but there's definitely things where I'm like, I made a mistake there and I should have done something different. And so then I could change that and do something different.
Hmm. Very true. There's a lot of things like yeah, you can control everything that you do, but like you said, Yoshi, you can't control like what other people do, but I guess you can control your reaction and actions that you took last time. Yeah, like there's quite a few things that I've done in relationships and friendships before that ended up not going well that I wasn't proud of that I would love to change and do better.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, just to prevent like as much like to do as much damage control as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of went a direction I wasn't expecting.
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's relevant at least, so.
Yes, it is. I'm guessing you guys, I know I'm not an exception, and I'm guessing you guys are probably not an exception where um, most young children are rather misbehaving and sometimes could be quite a pain to their parents. Would you um, try and not be a pain to your parents, or?
um, I feel like yes, but also I feel like I'm not gonna say I was an exception, but I feel like I wasn't like an exceptionally bad kid or whatever. Like I kept to myself a lot. I was a pretty shy kid. So I don't know. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that like I mean, my dad was gone a lot because I grew up as a military kid, and so then I was moving around all the time, and so I didn't have a lot of friends, and so I was just always like kind of to myself, and so I think I was pretty well behaved
Hmm.
until I got a little bit older. Then I started, yeah, then I took a turn, but
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I was a like rebellious child,
yeah,
but I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think there's really almost any time, any situation where there's not sometimes where the parents are like, ugh, these children are being so I don't know, annoying and
Children.
whatnot. Yeah, childlike.
especially with my mom because like I mean half the time she was taking care of me and my brother by herself. So I feel like I'm sure I definitely made it hard for her. I don't remember, but I'm sure there were moments where me and him were both having like meltdown after meltdown just because dad was gone and whatever over whatever little thing. So just like going back to that and trying to be like, now that I have my experience and like all my memories, I'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna like chill out. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I think something that I would probably do, like if I could go back and change behavior, I was considered like a pretty well-behaved kid. It was mainly because I didn't know how to talk back or like stand up for myself. Um, so I would probably go back and change that and like not necessarily be like worse in terms of behavior, but if I have the ability to articulate my wants and needs and feelings, I would probably do that more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like another thing you have to keep in mind though is like you're supposed to be a child, and if you're talking like you're like an 18-year-old, they're gonna be like, "What is going on? Like what?" Like
You make a good point.
That's another thing is who would you tell that you can do this?
yeah,
Would you tell your parents? Would you tell a significant other? Would you tell your friends?
I feel like nobody would believe it even though.
And like if you kept on like trying to tell people, they would probably tell somebody else, hey, this person is having like delusional beliefs.
Yeah.
Um, they need to be in a mental hospital.
Or I wonder even if there's like if we're not the only one who has this ability, like if it's every like couple people throughout the world or whatever,
Mhm. Mhm.
if there was
Mm.
like a way to like talk about it with them or find them or whatever,
Yeah.
Hmm.
just so that you don't think that maybe you're going insane. Just be gaslit about it. Like, no, you can't. You can't. That's not possible. It's like, no, I swear it's possible.
Like, see these people, it's all the same. I swear. I have proof.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you know the future and someone's like, I don't believe you, I'm pretty sure you can figure out ways to prove it to them.
Probably, most likely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although, when you tell people like that, that changes a lot. So maybe your knowledge of the future wouldn't exactly go quite the same.
Hmm. Yeah.
I feel like that just kind of depends who you tell and what you tell them though. Because if it's like something that they're influencing and you're telling them, like, then obviously that could change if they know that that's going to happen because of them. But if it's something like you're going to tell them that, like, oh, COVID's going to happen, like that's not something that they are in control of or you. And so obviously that can be proven.
Yep, that's true.
Mhm. I have another question to add to this hypothetical. Um, if you were to like reset and everything, would it, because as we get older, we forget like more and more and more memories from like our childhood and our early life. If we were to reset at any point, would we reset with everything we do currently remember, or would we like regain all of that lost knowledge?
I'm gonna say, like, literally take your brain that you have right now and
Mhm.
put it back in time.
Got it.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering that too.
I mean, so with that, like, you're gonna re-experience all the things. So in a way,
Mhm.
you will gain those memories back. But the
Yeah.
ones that you've forgotten, you'll only remember them, obviously after they've happened.
Mhm.
And you may get sort of a um deja vu stuff
Like
all
a
the time.
nostalgia. Yeah. So I was gonna say like get like some nostalgia from it, or just even like remember bits and parts of it, even though it was so long ago. Just being in that same setting and just reliving those moments. You'll kind of start remembering. I feel like.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, like I know myself, if I'm, say, listening to someone speak and I do like a drawing while I'm listening to them speak, when I go back and look at that drawing, I'll a lot of times remember what they were saying.
Mhm.
And so I think it would probably be something similar where each time we went into a situation, we'd probably start remembering what happened
Mhm.
in the previous, even if we didn't really have any memory of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question. It goes a little off topic, but it gets back. So, um, what about like repressed memories?
I was
Um,
thinking the same.
yeah, because if you don't remember, but they're still there, but like, I mean, memories that are repressed because of trauma. So if they're still there in your brain, but you don't remember them right now, what about re-experiencing that traumatic event? Would because like you were set back at a specific time, would you be able to slowly remember bits and pieces, or would it just be like experiencing it for the first time again because it was a repressed memory?
I feel like you would start at least even just having like a gut feeling that something was going to happen, even if you couldn't remember exactly what. And so I feel like if because of that gut feeling that you know that something happened here, you know, you could try to figure out, like, look for the signs of something, because before you likely didn't know what to look for, especially at a young age. And so because you're looking for that signs, maybe you can prevent it from even happening in the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't I don't think you would I don't think it would be like experiencing it for the first time. You may not remember everything, but I think you would remember sort of the way that you were feeling. Like, I think that because that's part of I think that's part of the thing with like repressed memories is when you're in a similar situation, a lot of the same feelings start coming up.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably do a similar thing.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to that gut feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because there's quite a few like there's been quite a few circumstances where I try to think back to like events or things that have happened, but I can't remember like what happened because my brain blocked it out, but I remember the feelings. Like I remember how I felt.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like, there's this one girl that I used to be like best friends with in like elementary school. And for some reason, like, I only have positive memories of her, but sometimes when I like see like a picture of her or something, because like I still like follow her socials or whatever, I just like feel like not hatred, but like I feel like some negativity towards her. And I literally have no idea why, because like I can't think of a single reason why, you know?
Hmm.
But it just feels like something maybe happened and I literally have no idea.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely understand. I think I had something else that I wanted to add. What about like oh, something else that I was maybe going to bring up is have you guys seen the movie The Butterfly Effect?
I have not,
Haven't.
Okay.
but I think I've heard of it.
It's a really messed up movie and it covers like a lot of really good topics. So do you guys care about spoilers at all?
I'm good, but maybe just like specify spoiler alert for, you know, the listeners.
Okay. Um, spoiler alert for everybody. Um, but the whole movie is it starts with this guy, the protagonist, played by Ashton Kutcher. I can't remember the name of the protagonist, but Ashton Kutcher, like as the character, he's going throughout his life, and you see he's just like a kid doing something, and then he blacks out, and it cuts to something extremely scary happening. Like, he has a memory where he's just chilling in class, he's writing, and then all of a sudden he blacks out and it cuts and he's like stabbed his hand with scissors. And he has no idea what happened, but it's like that throughout his life. He has blackouts and he doesn't know why. And then when he's an adult, he something happens and he ends up like blacking out as an adult, but he goes back as a kid and he's in the present moment during those blackouts while they were happening, but with his adult brain.
Yeah, so that movie actually, actually used to talk to me a lot about that movie. And he would compare it to the anime Erased because they are really similar.
Mhm.
From what I've heard, like I've not seen the movie, but like from everything that I've heard, like they're really similar in terms of Erased isn't as dark and gory, but it is like, you know, like this guy, he goes back in time to when he was a kid and there's these like three girls that got murdered. And so he goes back to stop that from happening basically. And his mom got murdered in like present day. So he goes back to try to stop that from happening too and all this stuff. So yeah.
Mhm. So my question was like, well, it's not really more of a question, it's just more of a I wrote down Erased because I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah.
um, but what I was going to bring it back to was at some point him and like he has a girlfriend in the future. And they've been together as friends for a majority of their childhood. And something that a traumatic experience that they had together as kids was they were sexually assaulted by the same guy at the same time.
Mm.
And in the movie, he has a blackout and he doesn't know what happened during that period, but it messed them up and it sent them like down this like different route in life. And whenever he blacks out and he goes back to it, he's able to change it and he changes the outcome and he fights back against their predator, the abuser. And then that traumatic situation never happened, but now they're totally different people. Um, After he changed that event, they became like the poppy preppy kids at like frats and sororities rather than like the alternative goth kids that have like traumatic memories or whatever. And they didn't have like other friends that they had made previously. They were actually like bullies to their friends in the previous life. Um, and so my question is something like that, something really, really messed up that happened, but that was like a major change in like the course event of your life that led to you like having different like the connections that you had previously. You changed that. Now you don't have those same friendships and you don't have that same life that you had before. Like, how would you go? What decision would you make in terms of changing an extremely like traumatic or like really impactful memory in your life?
I don't know because I feel like if that were to happen, I feel like I wouldn't even recognize that that's what changed in me. You know, like being able to pinpoint that that's exactly what led to which path you take
Mhm,
in life. You know, I feel like that's something that's really hard to identify. And so I don't know because and obviously before you like so if that happened in the past life before you stop that from happening you don't know what's going to happen like you would assume that you're going to be the same way because you don't think that that trauma is what who made you who you are and so you don't really think twice about it before you just know that you don't want to go through that again
mhm,
so I'm going to stop it but you don't think about how that's going to change you later in life.
mhm. Yeah, because in this situation, it wouldn't be like the butterfly effect where he goes back to an adult, like after he changed the events. We're still like reliving stuff like that.
Yeah, I think with things like that, if it, it's something that basically just affects me, I think I would not change it because, or sorry, I would change it not to happen because I already have the memories of it. I don't really need to relive it.
Mhm,
I guess if it affected someone else, uh, I don't know. That's like that situation you were describing. Like, yeah, I guess they did turn out as worse people,
mhm,
but at the same time, like, I feel like I can't just, let that happen
mhm,
because it'll make them better. Like,
mhm.
I feel like surely there's a better way to make them better.
Yeah.
Like, instead of letting them go through this traumatic experience for them to
Mhm,
learn, try being a good person to them to help make them learn.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, and I think that would. So yes, I had something that I was gonna say, and I was like, I don't know how to articulate this. But I feel like if you are like starting over, you're resetting, but you know everything. It wouldn't be like it was in the Butterfly Effect movie, where you still have that memory with you. You just choose not to go about that course of events anymore, but you like are still able to control your actions and other things that you do after that. And you could do like what you said, try to make that if it affected another person, try to make that other person better in a different better because of different circumstances. Not for like a horrible event happening and that's why they are the person that they are. You just try to make them a better person, like you were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And you went, or I guess I in this situation went through that already, and so I guess am already that better person because of it. And so I can teach them the same thing because I already have the experience, I guess. Although this would be kind of a interesting thing, like you try and say something to someone and they're like, "How do you know? You haven't done that." And you're like, "Actually, I have." But you haven't. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool, like being able to like just warn people about like the things that are gonna happen, that are gonna make like a major like history change. You know, like what I said with COVID, just warning them that that's gonna happen. I don't think you could necessarily stop it from happening,
Mhm.
just because of like who we are personally. Like it's not like we are the ones who created the virus or whatever, like or know who did it.
Mhm.
So you couldn't really stop it from happening, but we definitely could have gotten a better jump on it instead of the widespread panic that happened.
Mhm.
I mean, that being said, if they even believe you when you tell them, that this is going to happen, but if they do believe you, then a lot of panic could have been stopped.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think COVID is a quite a big one to try and stop or lessen the impact of. It could be possible, perhaps, but I think perhaps a better one or ones would be things like school shootings and things like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you could stop those much easier than you could stop things
Well,
like COVID.
I
Yeah.
mean, even so, I mean, I feel like, well, obviously you can't stop all of the school shootings. You can't be everywhere at once. But like,
Mhm.
because I mean, you can't really say you live in like California and there's like a school shooting all the way in like Michigan. Like, you can't really stop that because you're not there.
Mhm.
Okay, but you could give, if you remember the date that it happened, like during that date, you could give an anonymous tip that someone's gonna show up at the school with a gun.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. But I mean, if we're taking my brain right now, like, I could not think of a single like date
Yeah, I
of a
know.
school shooting.
Same.
Like that's I feel like you'd have to for that you'd have to have like photographic memory or something to be able to
Yeah.
remember
Yeah,
all those dates and names and stuff of the students doing it and what school and like whatever. So I feel like it's harder because you're taking your brain that's right now, and if you don't know that information ahead of time, and it's not like you can choose to like research first and then go back in time.
Mhm.
right.
Mhm. And that's another thing that, like, one of those other things that's trying to stop a school shooting that happened somewhere where you weren't there when it happened is one of those things that might be more out of our is more out of our control if we don't already know all of the events that happened leading up to it.
Yeah,
But if it was like a school shooting that happened at your school and like you were there when it happened, if you go back, you could prevent it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And also, there's some like really uh, chance events that have happened, like meeting people at really obscure times and whatnot. Like,
Yeah.
it might be hard to articulate those again, honestly.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it might be because like you were in a specific place at a specific time and you met a specific person. And if you're doing other things during that period in time, you don't meet that person again.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Huh.
Then it goes back to like trying to, like they do in a lot of uh, time travel movies, they try to reconnect with that person again, but you weren't in the same circumstances as before. So you might come off as like a crazy person to the person you're trying to reconnect to, or you just don't connect because it wasn't under the same circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Is how would you even like if you're trying to make things happen the same way, but you don't remember how it happened the first time? What if you do something different?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like even just like a small change like that, like even just like the way you meet somebody, like that can change a lot in terms of that relationship,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which would kind of suck, but also it could be better depending on what the situation was before. So like if you had like somebody who is a really good friend and you miss them a lot because you're not friends anymore, but you go back to that And what if you don't really become those close friends anymore from the start, you know?
Mhm. And it could also be like big things like what if in high school you chose to take a class that you decided you didn't really want to take, you wanted to take a different class and take a different like course. Um, then you wouldn't have met like all the people that you had that same class with either. So your friend group is entirely different. Not just one person, but possibly everyone you know.
Yeah, like so my senior year, I had just moved to a new school, didn't know anybody, but I had my fifth period. It was a study hall, and that's where I met my entire friend group. That's where I met my current boyfriend. Like my life would be, I would not have any friends right now. Or maybe I mean, I would, but they'd be completely different, you know? And I don't know if I'd still keep in contact with them even after I've moved for college, you know? And so my life would be completely different right now had I not stayed in that study hall or like not like gone to that class ever, because there were people in there who just never would go to that class just because it was a study hall.
Mhm,
And so, had I done any of that, I'd missed out on all of my best friends and my partner.
mhm. Like something else on that same topic of that. um, Something else is that one thing that I considered changing was possibly getting diagnosed and receiving medication earlier in life to
Yeah.
like prevent specific things or to take a different course. But doing that, I would probably change like all the different types of classes that I took. And like right now, I'm really into psychology. What if I'm still super duper into psychology? Like having going back and I change what classes I take. Maybe going to KTC, I decide not to go to CAD, and I decide to go to like a bio med class or something. Then I wouldn't have met Yoshi, and then I wouldn't have met you or like anybody there.
And like, yeah, so like my freshman year of high school, like I didn't take school seriously at all. And so like I really like impacted my GPA and everything from once I graduated. And so like had I taken school more seriously and I actually put effort into my school, I definitely could have gone to like a better school, or maybe I would have found something more interesting than being a kindergarten teacher or something. Cause I feel like sometimes I do feel like I just settled for my um degree or for yeah my career path, but like I mean I am interested in it, but it's like also like what if I could be doing, what if I'm better at something else, you know? And like what if, because I didn't take full like take advantage of that opportunity my freshman year to put in a lot of effort and actually, you know, try for my grades, I could have been missing out on a bunch of other opportunities at other colleges and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. And like that's another really big thing is not just like friends and stuff, but education path, career path. Like you could have an entirely different life. So it's like, would you like like, you don't know what's gonna happen with the new life that you take, but you do know what's gonna happen if you take the old path, but at the same time, you don't want a lot of your past actions to happen again.
Yeah.
You don't know what would happen, like, if you decide to steer the course.
And it's like even if you do try to make it the exact same, you don't remember every little action that you've done throughout your life, you know? So you could end up unknowingly changing a bunch of stuff
Mhm,
without meaning to. Like you want to keep it the same, but you kind of impossible to relive it twice exactly the same.
mhm. Like, going back, my parents, like, made us pick a sport every year. Um, and, like, we had to, we didn't have a choice, until we got to, like, middle school, and I was like, "Hey, I don't like sports, I like band." They were like, "Okay." Um, but, one of the sports that I did for 2 years, was golf, and in 5th grade, I somehow, I don't remember how, won the 2nd grade girls' competition. Um, well, no, won the 5th grade girls' competition in 2nd place, that's what it was. Um, but if I were to try and do that again, I wouldn't know how I did it.
Yeah.
I would just go about, like, learning how to do golf, learning how to play golf all over again.
Wait, I just realized like motor skills
Mhm,
and muscle memory.
mhm. Would it all be the same, or would you
as long as it's a part of your brain.
Hmm.
If it's, I mean, there are things that are sort of like things that happen basically in your spine without sending it to your brain.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm gonna say it's just your brain that went back, not your spine. um,
Yeah.
so as long as it's something that's like in your brain, then you would still have that. So like I played soccer for much of my life, so I'd probably be pretty good at soccer.
Yeah.
Although honestly, I'd probably be a little bit frustrated with the lack of coordination of a young body.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's what I was thinking. Like, you know how to do all this stuff, but you're in the body of a child, so like
Right.
the body doesn't know how to do it, but your brain does, and they're not really coordinating how they're supposed to. And so,
Yeah, and you don't have the same muscle mass like you did as an adult. You also don't have the same running speed, so you're like, "Yeah, I can run fast," but you're in a child's body, so you don't have the same muscle, you can't.
Yeah. Also, like things like I had to learn piano for a while, and then I was offered. My parents like said once I learned enough piano, then I could start another instrument, and then I kind of picked up drums, and then I ended up just not doing either. And I think if I went back, I might try and like keep at one of them.
Mhm,
yeah.
But also, like with that, I know I had some teachers that were like the teacher was just rather ineffective.
mhm.
So perhaps I would just not go to that teacher.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is interesting.
it is interesting. Um, and, yeah, I would do the same. I would if I was able to pick my teachers, or if I was able to pick different classes that had better teachers, um, I'd probably do that. Honestly, and, like, try to keep a skill or to keep a class.
I feel like even though I've had bad teachers, I had like good friends that I met in that class because of a bad teacher. So, like I said, my senior year, I had a friend in my government class who I met because we were seat partners for like half the year, and we kind of bonded over the fact that our teacher sucked.
Mhm.
um, our teacher sucked, so we kind of bonded over that fact. But yeah, I don't know. So I feel like maybe I wanted to change that, even though the class sucked.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was talking about like with my music teachers, those were usually actually I guess they were like private teachers.
Yeah,
It was usually just like me and my sister there. I guess in um when I was in public school one year, uh I did have like a band teacher. But I meant like yeah, I meant like private teachers
yeah,
where it's just me and them, like some of them were ineffective. uh
Yeah.
and then also like I took a math class at the tech center, and the teacher was not very good, and I didn't make good friendships with any of the other students. So like I don't know why I would go back and do that again.
yeah.
Mhm.
Except that all the other students needed me to pass. So
Maybe next time if you're not in that class, maybe they work harder or they find someone
yeah,
else.
maybe.
Mhm.
Honestly, they were all just using photo math anyways, so it didn't really
Yeah.
mean much.
Sounds about right.
Um, Something else that I've always been really curious about when it comes to time travel and like maintaining friendships and like friendships and stuff and possibly losing old friendships. When it like no matter where you grew up in your life, no matter like if you weren't to go back in time, completely change your life, born to different parents in a different house in a different country or whatever, you would still develop like interpersonal relationships with other people. They would just be vastly different from the last time. Like no matter what life you have, you'll still develop some level of interpersonal relationships with other individuals. They just won't be the same ones from before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but this doesn't change where you're born.
No, but like hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, I don't really see how that could change where you're born.
No, I don't think so though. But like if you take a different path in life and you make different friends, those relationships will still be meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have talked pretty extensively about this topic, and I think we covered some pretty good aspects about it.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's not much else to talk about with this. And I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure
I'm
there
sure there's much
is.
more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is, but as of right now and within our time frame, there's not a whole lot more.
Listeners, please leave comments of your opinions about this, and yeah, what would you do if this happened to you?
Mhm.
We want to hear from you,
Mhm.
and also give us ideas for things to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, and like the video, it always helps. Or actually, I guess this isn't always a video, but leave a like or whatever,
Do
or
whatever is
subscribe,
positive.
whatever you're supposed to do. And we'll see you in the next episode. Anyways, thank you for listening to the Inconsequential Questions podcast, and we'll catch you next time. Or you'll catch us, I guess, actually.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.